Are you thinking of moving to Flagstaff, Arizona, or are you considering buying a townhouse or a condo in Flagstaff because your child is about to enroll in Northern Arizona University? Well, if the answer is yes to either of those questions, you're going to want to watch this video, because if you can't handle these 10 things, then you probably don't want to move to Flagstaff. My name is Dawn Dickinson. The channel is Living in Northern Arizona, where I post videos about the Northern Arizona towns every single week on this channel. I am a realtor in Northern Arizona, so if you ever have a question about buying or selling a home in Arizona, feel free to go to the description below and find my contact information and give me a call, text, email, and I will get back to you. Now, I did a version of this same exact video about 2.5 years ago, but this one is updated with new information for 2024, and it is a kinder, gentler, more politically correct version of the video. So I want to start out with reason number one, and the biggest complaint people have about Flagstaff is the cost of living is very high. So the median home price for a single family home in Flagstaff right now is about $850,000, and the median price for rent is about $2,500. And of course, when housing is the biggest part of most people's budget, that is pretty high. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't find something for less. That is the median price, and that's also single family homes. So if you're going to look at townhomes or condos, you're going to find something for a little bit less, and also a manufactured home, you could get something for less than that also. But the housing cost is very high. The cost of living index in Flagstaff is 118. A company puts those indexes together and has 100 as a baseline of the average cost of living for the United States. So 118 means it's about 18% higher to live in Flagstaff than the rest of the country. The average town, I should say, in middle America. So cost of living a little bit higher. Mostly that's going to be for housing, and then groceries in Flagstaff, very high. Not everything though. Auto insurance used to be better, so it's going to be pick and choose, but housing prices and rent prices and groceries very high in Flagstaff. So the number two reason people don't like Flagstaff is that it gets very cold in the winter time. The low in January is about 14 degrees. Now, when I woke up this morning, it is late January. It was 27 degrees in Flagstaff, so it can be that way in the wintertime. It gets very cold. Now, of course, on the flip side is the summers are beautiful. The July high in Flagstaff is typically about 82, but again, we're looking at the things that you might not like, so you can decide if you want to move here. There are quite a few days in the wintertime that are below freezing, and on average there are about 7 or 8 days in the winter in Flagstaff where it gets below 0 degrees. So if you can't handle extreme cold in the wintertime, think twice about moving to Flagstaff. Now, number three is also, along with the cold temperatures, Flagstaff does get a decent amount of snow. It gets about 81, 82 inches of snow annually. I think the record high, I know the record high is much higher than that. It's above 100 inches, but typically you'll get about 82 inches, and in January you might get 20 inches of snow. So we do get snow. It's probably the snowiest town in Arizona. If you can't handle the snow, if you can't handle driving in the snow, or you can't handle shoveling your driveway with snow, think twice about moving to Flagstaff. The third thing people often complain about living in Flagstaff is the high altitude. Flagstaff is a mountain town. The elevation is about 7,000 foot above sea level, and because of that, people complain about the thin air. It does seem harder to catch your breath, and people that have any type of respiratory issues, or maybe older people, might have a problem breathing in the thin mountain air in Flagstaff. So that's something to consider if you have health issues. Generally, the good thing is that the air is very clean, but it is high altitude. And then again, if you're cooking, sometimes it takes longer to bake a turkey or bake a cake because of the high altitude. So some people have a problem with that. Often what will happen is if you come to Flagstaff, the first few days, you feel the altitude, you can notice the difference, but then you will adjust to living there, and you will adjust to the altitude. And if you're an athlete and you train at the high altitude, and then you go down to someplace like Phoenix and you work out, man, you're going to kick butt because you're adjusted to the thin air. But if you have any type of health problem that would limit your breathing capacity, the high altitude could be a deal breaker for you. Okay, number 5 is because Flagstaff is a mountain town and you're in the middle of the forest, there is a higher risk of forest fire, and with the higher risk of forest fire, there's also a higher risk of flooding. So a couple of years ago, we had a very big fire in Flagstaff, and actually there was loss of property. Fire lasted for a very long time, and it's scary when that happens. Now, this again, you could have, there's always a little fire. Most of the time, they are doing controlled burns and they contain fires, but occasionally, like a couple of years ago and maybe the year before that, there was a big fire, got out of control, and we lost some homes in Flagstaff. So if you're worried about the risk of fire, you might not be able to handle that. And then what happens also is after a fire, the fire burns the terrain, it removes the trees and the bushes, and now what we have is a burn scar, they call it. And because of the burn scar, in the following summer, when you have the monsoon and heavy rains, you could flood. If you're in a certain area, there's risk of flooding. You might have to sandbag your property, and you're worried that the water is going to come up. Again, there are just certain parts of Flagstaff right now that are at this increased risk because of the fire a couple of years ago, but just know you're in the middle of the forest, so there is a higher risk of forest fire when you live in Flagstaff. Number 6 is about homeowners insurance. There are some neighborhoods, perhaps zip codes, some areas of Flagstaff, there have been reported issues of people making a purchase of a home and then having a hard time either obtaining a new homeowner's insurance policy, or just the rates being very high on policies, only certain companies being able to give the loan. So if you're looking in Flagstaff, what I would recommend doing is, once you find a house that you like, before you make an offer on it, call your insurance broker and find out what kind of coverage is available. Can you get what you need to get the financing, and how much will the premium cost? You may have to shop around for companies, but this new thing with the homeowners insurance is something just been happening in the last couple of years, but that's definitely negative when you're looking to move to Flagstaff. Number 7 is, if you're afraid of wild animals, maybe Flagstaff wouldn't work out for you. So Flagstaff, you do have, again, we're in the middle of the national forest. You have elk, you have deer, you have bobcats, you have skunks, porcupines, wild turkeys, and sometimes bears and mountain lions. Now, typically, black bears and mountain lions you're not going to see in town. They're going to be kind of on the outskirts of town. I remember when I lived at Mormon Lake, which is about 30 miles away from town, I did see a black bear on the hiking trail and a cougar on the hiking trail a couple of times. Usually they're not in town, but about 2 years ago there was a black bear sighting in some of the residential neighborhoods of Flagstaff, so there still is a possibility that we'd see that. And when I went to Northern Arizona University, there was a family of skunks that lived under the business building. Now, I graduated NAU in 1994, which I just realized is 30 years ago, and that makes me realize how old I am. I don't know if the skunks are still there, but again, you're going to have wildlife, and if you don't like wildlife, or if it scares you, you know, the squirrels and the birds are one thing, but you know, there is a possibility there could be a black bear and definitely a lot of elk and deer in the area. So number 9 is, Flagstaff is home to Northern Arizona University, which is one of the major 3 universities in the state of Arizona. And on days where you would have graduation or Parents' Day, there could be a lot of traffic in town, and you might not be able to get a hotel room if you're trying to spend the night, and other issues that are stemming from the events that happen at Northern Arizona University. Could be traffic, could be a hard time getting a hotel room, could be a hard time getting a table at a restaurant because of events that happen with NAU. Okay, number 10 is that the types of jobs in Flagstaff could be a little bit limited. Now, this is changing now that we're having a lot of people that are doing remote working and remote jobs, but technically in the past, there weren't a lot of jobs in like high technology fields. Certainly not a lot of manufacturing jobs. I'm not saying there are none. There's a Superior plant and other opportunities like that, but there are not a wide variety of jobs in Flagstaff. If you are looking for a job in, say, hospitality, there's a lot of jobs in hospitality. There's a lot of jobs in healthcare. If you want to work for Northern Arizona University, there are jobs there. There are jobs in education. But a lot of the high-tech jobs, manufacturing jobs, consulting type jobs, you might be a little limited if you're coming to Flagstaff or hoping to move to Flagstaff and getting a job in one of these high-tech or manufacturing fields. You may have a problem finding work. And then number 11, This seems silly to me, but some people complain that there is no Trader Joe's. It's hard for me to imagine somebody wouldn't move to a town because of no Trader Joe's, but I have heard that is an issue for some people. So that's it. That's my 10 reasons. If you can't handle any of those 10 reasons, you may not want to move to Flagstaff, but if you're thinking, really, that's not a big deal, and you still like Flagstaff, feel free to give me a call, text, email, and I'll get back to you about finding a way to buy or sell a home so that you could live in this beautiful mountain town. I love Flagstaff. I did live in Flagstaff on and off over the years, and I may end up moving back there again, but for right now, I am in beautiful Sedona, Arizona. I sell real estate in Sedona, Verde Valley, Flagstaff, and the Prescott area. So again, if you have a question about it, go to the description below and get my contact information and give me a call, text, or email. I did a version of this video a couple of years ago, and if I ever relist it, I'm going to have it here for you to take a look at, but if not, there are other great videos that are going to come up in the end screen that I hope you enjoy. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you back here again next week.